It looks like we might have some U.S. military down in Key West, Florida that are being forced to possibly live in trailers as their new home, as the military barracks seems to not be a fit for them as they've been kicked out. I do want to give a massive disclaimer. Lived in a trailer for 18 years. Obviously, I do not find anything wrong with living in a trailer, but not the first thing you come to when you think about being in the military. So this came to light as one of the posts on Reddit writes, "I'm at my wit's end with this housing situation here at Naval Air Station Key West. There is a known problem and the chain of command just shrugs their shoulders. I have a sailor with a 1-year-old who has no place to stay because housing gave him a 6-week wait time. His TLE ends in a day and the hotels are $350 per night with his per diem being $305. Either or he is coming out of pocket when he applied for orders in November. I've got another sailor who was living in a tent after the TLA ran out while we waited for a lease at any place he could find here. I got a fellow first class being told to move because he lives with a DoD civilian and they got subsidized housing instead of full BH. A bunch of sailors are struggling and are forced to have roommates because they would have nowhere to live or be unable to afford a place to live here. They're closing the barracks on E2s and kicking to the streets or a quotation roommate program in housing. I have a sailor living on my couch with nowhere to go. It's entirely too expensive down here and the Navy is doing absolutely nothing about it. In fact, the Navy's making it worse by kicking people out of the barracks. The Navy's making it worse by cutting people's orders here with no room and housing for them. The Navy's making it worse by subsidizing $1,000 to $1,500 less than BEH. Base housing for civilians while charging the sailors their entire BH. And no one here gives a flying F. I don't know what to do, first class petty officers, and I'm really struggling. My chief just shrugged at me and told me that's how it is. My CMC laughed at me at the all hands call when I had asked about it, and the civilian department heads tell me their hands are tied. How do these people lay their heads at night comfortable in their E7 plus officer housing? Now, this was also linked to some kind of flyer here that goes to all the residents, and it says all residents must vacate the unaccompanied housing building 1350 by close of business at 4 o'clock, 1600 on Wednesday, 1 June 2022. Please schedule your pre and final inspections now with the front office. And then they show here these trailers where they say 2-bedroom, 1-bath trailers or cottages, quotations, will be made available on Trumbo on Sunday the 22nd, May 2022 for the price of $127 a day, $3,800 a month, or 31 day a month for the $3,900. Effective 1 October, though, that will go up to $142 with a max of 30-day month going to be $4,260, and the max for a 31-day month going to be $4,402. This situation seems to be getting so bad that sailors are going to Reddit looking for roommates, and this is a brand new E1 that writes this. He says, "I'm an LSSR." Again, that's a Seaman Recruit E1. Awesome duty station for the first place, but this might not be his favorite after this housing situation. But it says, going to Key West as my first duty station, and I was told I needed to find a place to live because they are no longer letting us live in the barracks. I reserved a lodging room, but I simply do not have money to afford an apartment, and I can barely afford current lodging. If anyone is looking for a roommate, please, please, please let me know. Any help is really appreciated. And the joke is going so far that this guy, No Cali Burritos in Maryland, says, honestly, camp in front of the base CO's house. Now, it does look like military.com has looked more into this, and they say the following. It says the junior sailors, about 60 of them, are struggling with this situation and say that it is an incredibly expensive housing market, including nearly $4,000 a month trailers the Navy had built for market for leisure travel. To start, an E1 to E4 sailor with no dependents receives a housing allowance of $2,364 for Key West. However, several websites show that the average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment on the island begins at around $3,000. One sailor who spoke with military.com and has been impacted by the move out explained that even if you're willing to pay the difference, finding an available unit is a challenge. Mind you, that's with COVID and everything else. Housing shortage is everywhere. They say the next option is privatized housing, but that's also a non-starter for young single sailors. According to one sailor, the wait list for privatized housing stands at more than 130 single sailors. The other sailor said they were part of a group of 3 sailors who applied to be roommates and were told they would be waiting 4 to 6 months. Since we're all single sailors, if a married family with kids comes, we get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And some of the sailors are becoming so critical that one writes, the way this base is run, I feel like it's more focused towards the betterment of retirees going on vacation and the pilots being on vacation while they're training and not really towards the people who are working here, one sailor said. So to break this down further, We did see an increase in BH temporarily for the rocket prices going up as far as mortgages and rents and things like that, but this is a nationwide issue. And just as much as these sailors have talked about they've been waiting for base housing, because that is probably the most affordable option for the majority of people going down to Key West, where it is astronomically priced. I also have to add the note that we have seen where base housing has been not the best either, because when you look at situations like what Angry Cops covered and various other bases have been all over the news, plastered with having mold issues and things like that, we really don't even know the quality of the housing there and if it really does meet up to par with what people would expect. And this is not the first time that we've seen some kind of government contract type situation, it seems like, for some kind of bachelor private housing. Now, if you guys have never been stationed in San Diego or ever seen this, there is something called Pacific Beacon, which are two massive towers in the San Diego skyline, which single sailors from the ship can live there, not automatically. Sometimes it requires rank or whatever else. There's a bunch of random specifications that come with it, where sailors will get some kind of housing allowance and then be able to pay this privatized company and live there, quotations, out in town. But sometimes it'll be stipulated that they only live there versus somewhere else. So very similar situation, two roommates, shared common areas, and it's kind of like a 2-bedroom apartment. Now, as far as safety goes, the only thing I can consider is this is Key West, Florida, where it is notoriously known hurricanes roll through this area. Living in a trailer, I don't know how stable these things are. We see one photo here, and that's pretty much it. But my other side of this token is for many of these people is I'd say be cautious, because we may be mad about the fact that we have these trailers that we're going to have you guys move into. But at the same time, nothing says that they don't have a right to put you in some kind of open bay barracks or something like that situation where it's not going to be any better and you're going to be sharing actually more space with more people, and that be kind of like a worse situation on top of that. Another thing I want to advise is a lot of people don't understand that there are requirements per instruction that require certain ranks to have a certain amount of space or square footage for their living area. So that's all the military has to be required to meet. And if they do meet it and all the safety is there and that's all, fine and dandy, you might be living in a smaller place. So I don't know which one is the net positive or net negative as far as that goes, but this is still a top-down view, and we're still playing it by ear on what might be happening here in the future. Let me know what your worst situation was as far as living situations or whatever you had to deal with while you were at any of the military bases. I'd love to hear down in the comments below. If you guys have questions, hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.